What's up, everybody? This is the Ike Inspirations podcast, and today I have a great guest named Roy. Roy is a seasoned entrepreneur who has founded 20 companies and has launched 6 successful podcasts. And so he has a lot of entrepreneurial experience, and he just has a lot of experience with life, and I'm love to learn from him. So Roy, can you do us a favor of introducing yourself to the audience and platform, and also just explaining how you're able to find so many companies?
Yeah, no problem. First of all, thanks very much for having me on your show. So I was born in Cork in Ireland, entrepreneurial from the start. So it was kind of in me to kind of get into the companies. So like I was 9 washing cars, doing newspapers at 11, with the money from that, cutting grass. So that was kind of my main thing, to have the entrepreneurial spirit. Then I moved, I'm 17 years in Poland. So I've got, as you mentioned, 6 podcasts. You know, they've all been in the like top 1% or top 5% before getting to the top 5%. They fluctuate up and down. And yeah, I'm a partner now in VA World, which is virtual assistants, and another one, Brain Gym Fitness. And I've had 20 companies because I started logging it. It could be more, but the ones I could remember. And in 5 different countries. So Ireland, England, and Estonia, Poland, and Biarritz is another one. So yeah, always kind of looking at that, and always kind of looking at how to start a company the right way, tax optimization, and just making sure you do the right thing. Because sometimes people, they're kind of all excited. They start a company and then they realize later on they're paying too much tax when they exit or during the process. So I always try to look at running a company, how you optimize it.
Yeah. I mean, hats off to you. I feel like running one business is already hard enough. So to be able to find 20 is incredible. So I'm curious, what has that process of finding 20 companies been like? And what are the success and failures you've experienced from doing so? Because I'm sure there's come a lot of, learning opportunities as a result of making so many companies and finding so many companies.
Yeah, I'm sure I could write about 10 books with all the information that I've learned. I mean, like one was real estate. I had a lot of real estate.
Oh, okay.
And I put syndicates together. I was doing very well. And what happened, like some of the people that were in the syndicates, they were worth like 10, 20 million, that were from Ireland. And when the crash happened, it took a bit of a while to come across the pond. It was like kind of 2008. They started losing stuff, and I was doing well because I was managing about 200 properties. I had a lot of different things. I had about 14 people on my books, and I thought this will be okay. So I started putting more money into like a commercial, and I said, okay, look, I charge a 10% interest yearly, and if you can't pay me, I'll just increase the share. I was being fair with them because they were fair with me. They trusted me to invest, so I wasn't going to kick them when they were done. And I never thought that it wouldn't come right. I thought this would be a bit of a hiccup, and they lost everything. And then I could have started seeing my funds were running down. So I went to the bank for the commercial property. I said, hey, can I have interest only? And I'll split it into 3 and sell it off in stages. And they wouldn't do that. I had Irish properties that were on interest only. They were cash flow positive because they were rented. Mm-hmm. And then the banks changed that. So what happened is most people wouldn't know it unless you were kind of caught in the storm. But basically, if you're the pulse, they were throwing money at people. And then they just turned off the tap. So for example, I knew a guy, he's a professor. His wife was a solicitor. They already had one property. They were going to buy another one. They had a 50% down payment. They couldn't get a loan. So when it went from one extreme to the other, so everything then kind of came down. And what happened, and this is probably a lesson for some people, usually when you're in a limited liability company, you kind of wash your hands and kind of move on. Or like what your previous guest, because I was listening to the NFL player, sometimes people go through bankruptcy and stuff like that. What happened with me is I was the principal, like the president of all these different companies.
Yes.
And in Poland, you're personally liable, and nobody had told me that. The solicitor didn't tell me that. The accountant didn't tell me that. So I was personally liable for about €5 million.
Wow.
Then I had to fight that. And through that, then I had a load of court cases. And I saw all the corruption then with bailiffs, with banks, with insurance companies, with everything. And it was that gave me my mission to fight all that. So that was one of the lessons, is look at, understand the laws. Just because it's like in Ireland, it's this way, doesn't mean if you're working somewhere else, it's the exact same. You have to understand it, and don't think like a solicitor or, accountants have your back. So what I would recommend a lot of the time, like, is you watch your account because you think your accountant has got your back. And unfortunately, I think a lot of them are kind of like, they're bookkeepers or they're compliant, and they don't really look at reducing your tax bill.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give an example. When I had I had one company in Ireland for the Polish property and another one in Poland. And basically I got a tax bill. So I went into the accountants who were auditors in Ireland, and I had read a book, Tax Magic. It was written by a guy from the Revenue. And basically what they said is, okay, if you've got this, you can deduct this, you can do this. And I went in, it's like, can I do this? And I said, yes. And I got a tax rebate. And I have seen that so many times with accountants. I have to go, can I do this? Can I do that? They never come to you. So what I would say is, don't delegate. Yeah, obviously they're doing the job that you don't want to do. Usually people hate that. But don't just kind of wash your hands and put it away. Understand everything.
Yeah, and for sure.
And when you're watching things like that, then you're kind of taking control yourself instead of outsourcing it.
Yeah. I know it's important to know a little bit of everything, so you're not just being fooled, And I seem to be attracting a lot of guests who have a history of being bankrupt. I know that's.
I didn't actually. What happened with me is I prepared all the files, and I was 30 minutes from submitting it, and I said, I don't want to be tarred with this brush, so I never declared bankruptcy. I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I just said, no, this is stuck to me for the rest of my life. And I didn't do it. And I eventually kind of got sold companies, and people came in and took the debts away, and then saw, like I mentioned, the corruption. For example, the bailiffs with one property, they were working with the valuer, and a property, I'll talk in US dollars terms rather than Polish zlotys. It was worth $1.25 million. And basically what they done is they wrote a terrible valuation saying, well, how bad the property. I've never seen that in my life. You don't do that with a valuation.
Yeah.
That's not something that you do. So they valued it at $500,000. And what they do is they have a screenshot when they advertise it for the first. It's like 75% is the first auction, 50% for the second auction. So for the first auction, like they were, I don't know, like 1.5 million zloty. So like 400,000, 375,000. And nobody turns up because they don't really advertise it. And then they try to buy it themselves. But thankfully a guy I knew bought it. But like that's kind of corruption going on. Bailiffs in another property, they bribed the people in the room and they had somebody else buying it. So like this is going on all over the world. I mean, when you witness it, you pay attention to it. And then I started seeing it happening in the UK and the US as well. So
No, gotcha. So just to clarify, like while all this was happening around 2008 in Poland.
A bit later, I was around 11, I think, by the time I kind of, yeah.
And around that time, your Poland was also going through a real estate crash. Just to clarify, like
it was the prices were, because I had built Turkey apartments, and like at one stage they were like 1,500 per meter squared, and it dropped to like less than 1,000. I had a property in Ireland that was worth €400,000, and it dropped to 125. Well, so how is that even possible? But that's what the way the market was happening. Like.
Yeah. Wow. And then and to make it worse, you said that you've also had loans that were interest rate only. So it kind of backfired on you at the time, right? Because
so the Irish properties were on interest only, and then they just decided to change it. I went back and I said, look, I won't be able to afford this. And they didn't there. And I remember like dealing with bankers, like one banker in Poland, he was cleaning his nails with my business card. And I just thought, that is so I didn't say no, I was just looking at him. And a guy in Ireland, he had like the person that came into the meeting, the girl, she was all touchy-feely, nice and friendly. And he cut his business card and threw it like a frisbee across the table to me. And it was like, I was like, these people haven't a clue the way they treat people. It just
isn't
the way the bankers work, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It seems like there's mortgage fraud everywhere, man. It's unfortunate, but I've also have a similar experience as a real estate investor. One of the properties I purchased on an interest rate only, and the interest rate was 4.75%. And as soon as it got sold to another mortgage servicer, they were corrupt and fraudulent, and they increased my interest rate to 20%. I'm like, I can't afford that. So it's like, oh, what am I gonna do? So I'm trying to sell this property right now. But it's interesting that it's not. It doesn't just seem to be corruption in the American economy. It seems to be throughout the world. That's interesting to me.
And like one thing that I would say, and it's something that because of all the corruption I saw, I started going, how is this right? Like, even if you look at, say, the judges in a lot of countries, when the political party changes, the high-end judges, Supreme Court, whatever they change. I mean, that just shows straight away this corruption. Why? That should have nothing to do with a political party. So I started studying sovereignty, common law, UCC, and I've read 20 plus books on that. And I've realized, like, you can use GDPR when they're passing information to people.
Sure.
And you basically, when they're writing to you as all capitals, which isn't you, the living soul.
Yeah.
And even if they're asking you to sign stuff, like, it's usually anything, whether courts or whatever, you're agreeing to it when you sign it.
Yeah.
And you have to understand the power of your signature.
Yeah.
And just, it's like, I wish you could go to a solicitor that would do this, but they're not interested in that. So you have to, same thing like the accountants, you have to kind of protect yourself. But there's ways, like your instance there, that's illegal what they've done.
Yeah.
There's ways of actually doing it. So you can get somebody that can actually say, they can't do that. They can't just transfer property and then you're liable and they can increase it. Like when you do it right. But I bet you they sent you a document stating it and you signed it. And you basically just agreed. That was the one. That's how they do the trickery. They just say, oh, now you're gone to this guy. With even little tiny bit of writing, they'll probably something say, oh, we can change the interest, and you didn't even pay attention.
Yep.
They tried to do it to my Irish properties, and I was like, I'm not signing this, so they couldn't do it because I was on ECB plus 9%, so basically like tiny interest rates, like 0.9%. When DCB was 0, or if it was 1, it was 1.9. And people I know that signed it, they plus 6%. They done the same, not as bad as you. I mean, 20% is like a credit card.
Yeah. And when you're doing these dumb real estate transactions, there's just so much paperwork. Like there's so much paperwork that you guys gotta go through. It's like you can't read off it, so you're just like, whatever, like sign. And I know that may sound ignorant, but it's hundreds. Like the paperwork is insane, so no one really takes the time to read every single thing. But
plus the text, I don't know in the States, but here the contracts that they give you is like 2 millimeter. So you do want to read it. It's impossible because it's hard on the eye to actually read it. Yeah, they intentionally do that you just go. It's like the contracts with app upgrades, all these different things. You just go and you scroll and you sign it, and it's like when you start reading these things, you go ooh, and you'll be surprised when you go to them and you go, hey, you've got this point in here. And you can actually get it taken out or just refuse to sign. When you refuse to sign, they can't control it.
Yeah. And then the worst thing that I don't know about you, but after doing this, obviously, like you may not agree with what's happening legally, so then you have to get a lawyer. But then lawyers cost a hell of a lot of money, and some of them are even like, "What the hell are you doing, bro?" Like it seems like they're just trying to elongate the process or focus on the problem so they can continue to collect the bill, and it just seems to be an ongoing like process of just insaneness because they can't even just. It takes a long time for them to fix whatever issue you're hiring them for.
I've had over 100 court cases. Yeah. And even like, for example, if we were in court with each other fighting in the same state, a lot of the times the solicitors meet each other, they make the deal, they know what's going on, and they're just playing tennis, but they're having billable hours. So we're both paying and then we're thinking, and the deal's already done. They're not doing something. And that goes on a lot. And like what I've noticed is like in a load of times with court cases, I won the case because I'm sitting there paying attention. It's a lot of times people, they just let the solicitor do their thing. You can't do that. You have to pay total attention. And there was one time I had seen that they had my signature was done and I put a zero through. I put a line through my zeros. And the judge was going through some document. Is that your signature? And I goes, maybe. But I said, that's not mine because I copped that the line was not there. They forged it. And because of that, and there was another thing, they had a document, they pretended it was actually an original. I said, that's a colored scan. I just see that. And other cases, I write a piece of paper to solicitor and say, look, he said that's wrong. And I've won cases, and I think I wouldn't have won only that I kept my finger on the pulse, and so don't ever just say, and you can even represent yourself as well. I know a lot of people are starting to do that because like, they're just billing you, unfortunately. Like, you think they have your back. And the other thing is, when you're kind of learning common law and all this stuff, it's basically saying that I'm not competent enough that I have to give you. Why does the court have to have law language? It should be common law.
Yeah.
Like, the language should be something that we understand, and it's all trickery. And they say different things that you don't understand, and you're agreeing to it. But one thing, when you go in there, they go, what, like, they know who you are, and they're saying, "Are you Mr. say me, Roy Coughlan?" And you go, "Yeah." You've just confirmed that you're there for them, and they have the right over you, so they're over you already. And this is, unfortunately, so much trickery. That's even in courtrooms.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate because the lawyers that you hire, they're only going to care. They're only going to care so much. They're not going to care as much as you do about this situation. So it feels like even if you hire the lawyer, you still have to be on top of everything, which feels stressful because it's like, what's the point of hiring a lawyer if I still have to make sure that the lawyer is doing a good job of actually doing his job? You know, and it's just, you know, it's insane and sad how corrupted the world could be. I'm curious. You said you've been through 100 court cases. Like, what is that like? And are you literally physically going to these court cases? And are they held in different countries? Because you seem to have had a lot of experience. I'm just curious.
I've been in the High Court in Ireland. So basically, the 3 properties that they have, so they took everything off me. I lost even my house with my personal belongings. And what they did is they sold all the properties. They didn't even give me information on it, like when it was going to auction or being sold. So I found out later they put them as a pool and they sell it to like the likes of BlackRock, who come in and then take over the properties and don't pay any tax and double the rent for whoever's coming in. And one of the properties, the one that I had said was like valued at 125, I had an offer of 200,000 for that, because if he's on a plot of like 3/4 of an acre, and it was newly renovated, I renovated a house, and basically I said full and final settlement. I had a 220 mortgage on it, and they wouldn't accept it, but they sold it for something like 165 themselves and came after me for the excess. And that's why I was in court. And when you're in the court in Ireland, in the High Court, it's not like, you know, defendant, plaintiff, and you bought out a solicitor. It's in a room with a judge who doesn't really know what's going on with the case. And you've got like 150 people, but it was all barristers. Like, they're the top level. They're very extensive. So I'm there to represent myself. I'd lost everything. Couldn't afford a solicitor even if I wanted. You don't get legal aid. I mean, if I had raped somebody, killed somebody, you get legal aid. But when it's your loss, you lose everything in your life. No, you don't get that, which is kind of strange. It should be the other way around. But you're not entitled to that. I'm not sure in the States, but in Ireland, that was the way. And I'm fighting these people. So he opens a file and he's looking at it, and 8 times I had to go back, and I could see so much corruption. It was like, you know, people go and say, "Oh, I got KPMG. They charged me €15,000 extra." When was that? 2 years ago. You should have took it up with them then. Bang, ruled in favour of the banks plus interest plus penalties. Every case that I was there on the 8 times. And when I was there at the final date, I thought I was going to win, because previously I had an affidavit as a sworn statement, and this kind of crappy lie stating their facts, and I rebutted that. Plus I had 47 points from me, destroying them with all their fraud and everything. I had loads of information, and they couldn't respond to it because there was no way that they could actually do that, because they would be, you know, proof.
Yeah.
And one judge said, "You should have responded." He said, "There'll be serious consequences." And they offered €1,400 to me for travel expenses, and we were to come back in 3 weeks. So I thought, at that stage, I'm going to win. This is going to be done and dusted. I came back, different judge. And in the morning, he basically started, "Oh, this is going to take too long. So you're there like 9:30 or something like that. We'll do it at lunchtime." Then he starts again, not too late. So I was there till like 5 or 6 o'clock. And if I'm gone, I lose. But the barrister can go, "I've got another case," and leaves, and that's okay. So even at that, there's a bias. So when I'm there, the barrister starts talking, saying everything. And then when I go to talk, the judge just stops me and even let me say it. And somebody stood up and said, "What's going on here?" And he said, "Get out if you don't shut up," to the person. So, and I'm like, this is so much corruption. So then he basically ruled in favour of the bank. So then he starts discussing interest and plus the barrister's cost. That could have been about 300 grand, like, because they're about 10 grand a day. And I said, "Listen, I'm trying to fight this for over a year, and you've never responded to my affidavit right now." He goes, "Okay, fair enough." So he didn't get caught on interest or penalties or their costs. And I wanted to go to the European Union to fight this. And I found out that I had to appeal to do that. And if I appealed, it opened up it again. So it opened it up to plus interest plus penalties plus the next round. So you were talking like something like 68 grand versus maybe 500,000. And when I saw full corruption the whole way through, I wasn't going to take that risk. So I didn't go forward. And it was like, and in Poland, I had a criminal case. So they were trying to give me 3 years in jail for, basically, we ran out of money. We couldn't pay for the water. The water got turned off, and they said I'd done it intentionally. It was the water company came along. So the tenants who never paid anyway, there was 3 left, took me to court, and they wanted to give me 3 years in jail. And it was my own experience, again, sitting down when they came into court, more corruption. They brought the 3 witnesses together at the same time, which would never happen. But because of what they said, I was able to catch them out in lies. And the judge started screaming at them. And it changed it, because before that I knew she was against me. You know when somebody doesn't like you. And it just changed based on that. And it took us about, I think I had to go in about 20 times with witnesses on just that case alone. And it was near the end that they eventually got the people that were taking the claim against me. So I won. And then it went to next level. They said that it goes to the highest level because they appealed. And I asked the solicitor, I said, what's going on here? She asked the prosecutor, oh, they have to. And even during that case, I'm sitting down, different prosecutors about 5 times. One of them was fast asleep. So I'm sitting there next to my solicitor going, oh, they're trying to get me in jail. And I've got this idiot across me fast asleep. He doesn't need to pay attention.
Yeah.
I know. And it's like, so,
it's pretty, man.
So it's like, unfortunately, I don't think they tried to get me into a courtroom later. And because of my knowledge with sovereignty and common law, they couldn't get me into the courtroom. No, I had bailiffs coming after me. Because of my knowledge, I got them to back off. So I recommend everybody, even if you haven't gone through it, and start looking at this, because unfortunately we're surrounded by corruption and everything. And then you can protect yourself, that you don't even have to be looking over your back, kind of worried about what's going to go on.
Yeah, man. It's crazy, man. Everything you're saying, because on a microcosm, unfortunately, I can relate to it. After I purchased my second property, man, it's sad how you kind of go into the world blind and young, just being ambitious, trying to better yourself, and you come across all types of just terrible people, and I can see why, as people get older, they get a lot more jaded about the world, because you experience so much things. It's unfortunate, but I'm glad that you're keen legally, because if you weren't, you probably wouldn't be speaking to me. You'd probably be in jail or somewhere else, man. So that thanks for sharing your story, man. And I can imagine that something that probably made it even more difficult is I've had a few European people on this podcast, and I've spoken to other Europeans, and I know in there, when you do business, like they move very slow. So like if you're trying to get something done, I'm sure it doesn't happen as fast as you would like, right? Or like it can take a long time.
Yeah, sure. Like most of the cases, a year. Like there was another one took 2 years. I mean, your whole life is on hold. Like the Turkey apartments, I had a case with the builder there, and it was in a different city. It was like 2 years it took. And you can't win, because your accounts are on hold and everything. They just their assets, because it's like, if you lose, you have to pay them, so they don't allow you to live normally.
Yeah, man. And real estate, don't get me wrong, it's a great business. I still intend to do real estate for a long time, but one of the things that is turning me off about the nature of the business is just how long everything takes. Like, you know what I'm saying? Especially once you get lawyers involved, they just make the thing longer. If you have tenants who are not paying, like it takes a long time to evict them. Like, you know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, I love the man I've become as a result of doing real estate, but I'm starting to think about other businesses that I might want to get into to diversify my income. So you founded 20 companies. I'm sure they're all not real estate. What else have you found that has allowed you to find success?
Yeah, so like a recent one is VA.world. It's virtual assistants. And I had a recruitment license years ago, 17, 18 years ago, when the Polish were coming to Ireland. I was kind of placing a lot of them into construction, and so it was successful. But when I had to move to Poland, I let it go. And like, it was always in the back of my mind. That's a nice model. And I've used like virtual assistants for a lot of my podcasts, because I've got the things. I edit it myself, but just kind of doing posts and creating shorts and stuff like that. Yeah. So I've been using it, and then I get some of my clients, and I kind of get them to be working. So I knew the benefit, and basically I've been working for a good few years. We just came together, and we're basically helping people. And it's not based on the hour. Like most people kind of do it like, the hour, how much do you charge per hour? But the way we're doing it is, most times, especially if it's like social media or whatever, you're worried about your passwords, because you don't know if you're working with somebody in any different country that's not in the same place as you. How can I protect that? Because like, not every system allows like just an admin that you're using your system. Sometimes you have to give the full pass. And what we have is we have the computers in the office, and basically they come into work, so we're vetting them. But we also have a manager overseeing it, and we use like Trello to have the whole profile. So we're protecting both sides, and we're protecting the worker, and we're also protecting the client. And like a lot of times, like you've clients, they abuse people. I mean, that's well known as well. They think just because they're like the boss that they can treat people like crap. We won't tolerate that. So we make sure as well that like this has to be a mutual place where you require this work. We provide the people to do it, whether it's bookkeeping, whether it's website graphics, or we've got all the different services, but we're protecting both sides. And like the thing is, you don't have to worry about taxes, holidays, sick pay and all that, because we've got such a team that even if somebody is going away, we've somebody else that's stepping in, and you're dealing with somebody that's managing the whole lot. And I think it's kind of a different model to the way some of the companies work.
Yeah, I mean, the virtual assistants are incredibly powerful tools and helpful resources that I feel like a lot of people aren't really realizing, to be honest. And I just like you said, you use a podcast with virtual assistants. I have a virtual assistant helping me with all my podcast endeavors, and it's just incredibly. I feel like if you're creative enough, you can use virtual assistants in so many great ways that I feel like a lot of people don't even talk about. Like, for an example, one of the most underrated ways I've used virtual assistants is I would hire a virtual assistant to once back when I was freelancing, I would use them to email and message a bunch of people so I can get freelance gigs. And I was able to get all types of high contract work as a result of them marketing for me. And I've even done that to find some high paying jobs for myself. And so and that's just one example, and there's many examples of how you can creatively use virtual assistants. Can you speak towards the power of virtual assistants and how helpful they've been for you, and how can people use them to their advantage?
Well, I mean, a lot of people, whether they're kind of like solopreneurs, maybe they're a coach, because there's a lot of people like their coach consultants and stuff like that. And if you're making X, whether it's even $50 an hour or $100 an hour, if you can get somebody to do a load of lead generation, as you say, reach out and stuff like that, and it costs you a lot less, you can't just say I won't do this, because no matter what business you have to get leads in. Yeah. It's like, you might get 20% referral eventually, but you have to start. And just having somebody that's like looking after all these things. And there's different, like I've used loads over the years. Like you've got Fiverr, you've got Upwork. Yeah. Well, I've had such bad experience with that. Like Fiverr people would say they'll do such a thing. And thankfully that system is like you prove it and they don't get paid. But it's a lot of headaches and just going back and forth. And like the people that tend to never do anything, they're just constantly writing and they're just distracting you. Sure. Same with Upwork. Like Upwork works is that it's like they've got a screenshot. But I mean, I could do a screenshot for you now, as if like I'm working on your podcast and I have another computer and I'm working away. So you get people that it looks like they've done a load of time, but you know yourself, hey, I'm not seeing results. I'm not seeing much done. Yeah. So there's trickery in that as well. And I've went through a lot of people with Upwork. So like, it's not all virtual assistants are the same. We're trying to take away the pain. We're like, our objective is to get long-term clients. And it's like, if we're working with somebody, we have a little chat with them, free chat, 15 minutes or whatever, we're going to see exactly what they need. We create a package. And it's not in our interest that you're not getting benefit from it, because why would you be paying, whether it's $300 a month, $1,000 a month, whatever, depending on the service that you're doing, unless it's serving you. So we have to make sure that you're getting a good return on your investment. And then you'll actually, one, increase it, or two, you'll be telling people about it. So, and there's different virtual assistant companies around the place as well. But usually they just provide the worker. And I think when you're holding your baby, basically. I know if you've got your Facebook account, you've got all these different accounts, you have to protect it. You can't just, because you hear a load of people, they lose, they fall out with whoever's working with them. Yeah. And they damage the account. You don't want that. That's what we're kind of there as well. We're protecting you. We're making sure. And by having, like a double layer as such, as well as us, me and my founder kind of overseeing stuff as well, you're not going to have something done that's kind of stupid, that's going to damage your business as well. Because sometimes people can post something or do something. Yeah. They don't really get it. And that you're educating them and you're making sure, how to comment and what to do. And you're not relying on the client to spend so many hours to be trying to teach somebody, because at the end of the day, the reason you want a virtual assistant is you want to get rid of all the gunk off your desk and concentrate on what's making the money. And we kind of, we do the transition. We know exactly what the client wants. Yeah, we're working with the person then to deliver on that.
Yeah, virtual assistants, they help you focus on the highest leverage tasks, the ones that are actually important for you to focus on and make the most money or do the most important thing, whatever that be. And like you mentioned, I've went through Fiverr too. I don't think I've used Fiverr much, but I use Upwork as a lot. And when I was on Upwork, I've gotten a lot of poor virtual assistants too, and I've had my fair deal of having to fire some people. I felt like a lot of them didn't really care that much, or they would try, like you mentioned, they would try to like fake doing a lot of work without actually doing a lot of work, and you could see it. And if the results are not coming, it's just clear as day. So I've had my fair share of experiences of firing virtual assistants. But I think that's just the nature of business and moving on and getting productive results. I'm curious, for someone who would like to save themselves some time and at least perhaps explore finding a virtual assistant, what can they do to at least first to start that? You know?
Well, I mean, if it's us, they just go in and book a call. We're va.world. But if
va.world,
I mean, va.world, and like, even if they're working with another company, it's kind of just find out their process and how are kind of, like where there is there stuff safe, because people can get in 1,000 people and then just pass. It's like having Upwork.
Yeah,
there's no accountability around, and that's not the way we want to work. So it's like, whoever you're dealing with, just make sure that you're protected and how they're actually vetting them. And is there somebody that's overseeing it? Have you got, like, we use Trello, everything is logged and we know what's done. So if you wanted to go in and add a task and everything, it's there. So the manager's seen it and the worker's seen it, and it's all there on this, so there's no trickery or anything. And so I would think whoever you're talking to, find out their process, how they're doing it, how they're vetting it.
Yeah. I've used a website. My website that I like to go to find virtual assistants is called onlinejob.ph. It's a place where you can find virtual assistants from the Philippines. And I've had good success finding great workers. For someone who would like to use VA World, why would someone use VA World instead of onlinejob.ph or Fiverr or Upwork or all the other virtual assistant places? Why would someone go to VA World?
Well, I mean, first of all, I can kind of show them my stuff. So if you look at the fact that my podcast, like say the Polish one, and we created shorts and stuff like that, like sometimes that's getting over 10,000, just the shorts on Facebook alone. So we've a load of success we can show you. We can show you what we've actually done. Loads of websites. We've loads of courses as well, because people create courses and how to do the courses and how to market the course. So we've a load of experience. And like, for example, if you've got somebody that's creating a course here, creating an affiliate system and everything, some people will take a week to do something that might take 4 hours. And it's in our interest to do it right as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the level that you're going for and everything, but like, somebody can drag it out just for the sake of billable hours. So that's nobody's interest. So when you have a package that's kind of whatever it is, this is what you're doing for the month at X amount.
Sure.
You can see it's been done, because if it's not done, you're disappearing. You're not going to continue. And that's nobody's interest.
Yeah. And how much can someone expect to pay if they were using VA World, like on an hourly basis, somewhat? Like, I know it depends, like, but
we kind of do, we're doing it like more what you need rather than, okay, it's X amount. I mean, we've even got low level. So we've got like entry level from $99 to do a bit of social media. So we've got like a package, and it's okay, because I know that some people, like, they're just building their business. They don't have time to, so it's not a case of, it's going to cost me $1,000, $2,000 or whatever. Like, if you're looking for somebody like senior experience and everything, then you pay more, obviously, what you want. But that's why we kind of sit down, because everyone there's not like, and most people are like, it's $10 an hour, it's $6 an hour, whatever.
Gotcha.
But you need to know exactly what you're looking for, the level that you're, because some good days they've got a lot of people, and we make sure we're serving you then.
That's fair. So you're essentially paying per project instead of an hour, which I think that makes sense because at the end of the day, well, whatever business, whenever people use virtual assistants, it's to get something done like that. So I understand.
Because if you're doing billable hours, what usually happens is you're watching, hey, he's doing 5 hours a day
I
for me.
understand.
And then you're tracking it and you're wasting your time trying to see it.
Managing.
And then you're looking through. I remember even with Upwork, I was going through all the screenshots going, what's he doing? I could see stuff open. And I was like, I was spending so much time. So it's like the way we're doing it is, you know, if it's editing a podcast or whatever, and it's creating charts and has posted the shorts and it's doing the YouTube and growing all the different things, you will know because you'll see the results. And it's like, why would we provide something that's not working? Because you're not going to continue next month. What we want is that you're a long-term customer, and then you increase what you're doing, because if you're making like 20% more on your income based on what we're doing for you, you go, hey, I can actually do more stuff and increase it again. And then you'll tell a few people as well. And those that are bringing in clients, we'll obviously do, we look after them as well. We don't just accept it as, oh, thanks very much. No, we give them all right, we'll do a bit extra for you this month because of that. We appreciate you bringing in a client. And, we kind of look after the customers that we have.
Yeah. No. I mean, what your method makes sense. It keeps both sides honest. So I like that. Yeah. In the future, if I'm ever looking for a virtual assistant again, I'm gonna check out VA World. So then you've also mentioned you have 6 podcasts, which is incredible, and it seems like I don't know how you have so much going on, but your podcast also seem to be doing relatively well in comparison to most podcasts. I know most of them are ranking in the top 5% of the industry. And as a podcaster myself who has aspirations of growing, amplifying my energy, and just becoming the best podcaster I could possibly be, what advice would you give to someone who's trying to grow their podcast?
Well, first of all, I mean, prior to recording, I told you that I, like, when I'm going on a show, I listen to a show. So
Sure.
Most people are trying to look for secret sauce, and one is have a good interview. So you have that already, because I've listened to your shows, and I'd be like, it wasn't a case of, because you might know yourself, if you've ever been, sometimes it's kind of painful because you kind of have to listen to see what's going on, but it's like,
Yeah.
you're not really enjoying it. But it was like, I was enjoying the conversation. So that's the most important thing, that you've got a decent conversation, because then you can kind of start creating shorts on it and posting on different places. Like the video, like a lot of people, they just do audio only. I encourage do the video. Since not only YouTube, I mean, because one of my podcasts, it's called The Awakening. It's exposing fraud and corruption, but I get attacked left, right, and center. It got removed from YouTube, got Linktree removed me. I got censored and all this. But like, so you don't have that. So, but
No.
even if you're on YouTube anyway, do it on BitChute, do it on Rumble.
Yeah.
So like one of my the BitChute for The Awakening's got like, I'd not see 400,000 views. So that's additional to the audio. So why would you waste that? And a lot of people like that format. So what I would say is actually do that as well. One of the things that a lot of people do is they create, they'll post it on Facebook. And what you want to do is you want to find groups that would appreciate what you're doing and would be kind of connected with it. So for example, the Polish one, I'm in groups, foreigners in Poland, Chicago is a big thing. So there's groups in Chicago, Boston, there's Polish there, there's Polish in Ireland, Polish UK, about 50 groups. So when there's an episode going or with the shorts, it's posted and shared there. So it gets connected and it's going to the right people rather than just blasting it out. Most people, they just blast it out. So you go to places that would appreciate what you're actually doing. You find groups that are connected with that. And the other
good idea.
No, it makes a big difference. This is something that maybe a year, 2 years ago, what I learned is when people give a thumbs up on your posts, what you do is you click on that and you can invite them to your page, and you just consistently do that, because you can just go in once a day or maybe once every few days, and you see, whether there's 3 or 30, like the Polish one, sometimes it could be 100 different posts because of how many, and I just go into it and I invite. And what I'm doing is I'm just constantly growing the page. So then when I'm posting shorts and stuff like that, there's people watching it and there's comments and they're sharing it, which in turn makes the show grow and it's got like a couple of million views with, between the audio and the video. Like, the audio alone, I think is like 1.1 million. On YouTube, it's like 1.4 million. So, And it's just consistent. So like I track everything. I have everything on an Excel sheet, and I'm constantly putting in the stats. It's something I don't outsource. I just keep that for myself. But I'm just watching the different things, and I try to get 0.5%. I make it yellow. 1% I make it green, and if it's the 2% I make it purple. And I'm trying to get everything as green at least. And you like, because compounded 1% is more than 100% at the end of the year, and everyone can do 1%. So you're trying to improve your numbers. And by doing that, I'm going, why is this down? I forgot to post it here. Or I forgot to do this. I forgot to do. And you pay attention to it. And by paying attention to it, you're making sure that it's going out to the right places and you're engaging. And same with like comments. You can outsource. You can get the virtual assistant to do the comments on the different things. I personally do that myself because I know my business. I know my podcast. I know the shows. So when people are writing, you get a load of people that are trying to become promoters and stuff like that, but you get genuine people, and by responding and commenting and giving it, like sometimes they're looking to get in contact with somebody that was on the show that they want to do their course or something, just spending that few little minutes gets them to be coming back, and you'll actually see it from the people that are giving the thumbs up and everything. Did you get to see the names? And you go, okay, they've stuck around, because it's like they appreciate that you're engaging with them and you're not just going to, because a lot of people, like, for example, YouTube, I watch a lot of stuff. I watch a lot of podcasts and different things, but I never gave thumbs up. I just kind of watch it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it was one day my son was he was on the telly, but it was connected for some reason onto my account. I said, why's my YouTube gone through the roof? Then the subscribers went way up because he was giving thumbs up to the stuff he was watching. And I realized that.
Oh, wow.
It makes a difference. So, and I was like, I do appreciate this. So I do like the video or whatever. So say if I was watching your interview, I listened to it on Spotify, but just say it was a YouTube thing.
Yeah.
I know I've trained myself to give a thumbs up. And I think the way the algorithms work, that it actually helps you as well. Because most people, they don't really do that. They just watch and enjoy. So it doesn't take, it takes an extra second if you enjoy it. And it helps the creator.
Yeah. And so you found a way to contact people who give you thumbs up, and then also it sounds like you have a bunch of online communities that you found that to post your podcast and share what you're doing, right? Those are some two. Wow, that makes sense. I'm just curious, how do you find the people who like? Are you what are you talking about? Instagram? Are you talking about YouTube? Like, because on Instagram, you can see, on Instagram and Facebook, you can see who liked your post. I don't think on YouTube.
No. On YouTube, it's more about giving a post of stuff you're watching. If they comment. So if they comment, they just give a heart, or I go, thanks for watching, or something like that. With the Facebook, it's, you hit, like you could say 10 people gave a thumbs up or a heart to your post. Say I done a short. You click on that, and then you get the option to invite. And I just invite. And then you're inviting them to, you might get a 10% conversion rate coming in. But if I don't do that, they're not going to join the page, because, they just saw the video and they just thought, oh, that was nice. I enjoyed some lesson. So
I understood. Yeah. You're right. So essentially you're just doing a really good job of engaging with your audience and just tracking every, interaction, which is interesting. I ought to do that more, but I feel like I need more time in my hands. And it's incredible because you have 6 podcasts, and I'm just so curious to learn, like, what is your day like, and how are you running these 6 podcasts? And I don't know how many companies you have running actively now, but all that to say, it seems like you have a lot going on. 6 podcasts, you founded 20 companies, you started VA World, and there's just a lot of things going on. So what does your day-to-day look like, and how do you manage your time so that you can do all these things?
Like, I always I have a weekly schedule that I type out, like, say, my minutes, I call it, break it down to the different things, whether it's the podcast or stuff. I have developed over the years to make it better. So now my kind of system is, after the interview, I try to save it. So I use Shotcut to put my intro, outro, and put it together. And if there's something that needs to be done, but usually I don't have errors, or I don't need to do any editing really as such to the show itself. Unless something happened, the odd time power can go or something, that it is what it is, and I just edit that. So then I save that, then I I use Adobe to enhance the sound, and I say that, then I upload it without having it ready. So I used to do that before I'd have the show. So I tried to streamline what I'm doing so that then when I'm ready to actually edit a show, it's a lot faster. When I'm editing, I play it twice the speed, because I, like most stuff when I'm watching, like when I was listening to your shows, I could go up to 3 because it wasn't video on the Spotify. So I'm able to comprehend even at high speed, but my own one, I'm able to do it at double the speed. So as I'm listening, I'm making the show notes, and then I'm just posting. When I'm posting, I then copy and paste, post it to YouTube, but at the exact same time. So everything that I do is systemized, and it's like I'm constantly looking, okay, how can I do this better? How can I? And I just set aside a time, like I do tasks. Okay, I'm going to do this, and then I'll like maybe do podcast, and then I'll go away and I'll be working on the VA or whatever business that I'm doing. And like, I mean, I've got equal custody of my youngest child. He's going to be 11 at the end of the year, and my calendar is blocked out that nobody can book a podcast when I'm with him. So I'm there for a while with him. I'm doing, we're doing different things, going to the cinema, whatever. And it's like, so I don't compromise on family life either.
Sure.
And by doing that, then say like Tuesday and Thursday is kind of my main day for a lot of the interviews. Could have 2 to 4, but I know exactly where I am. Plus, like I love what I do, so I don't consider it as a job. So, like it's Sunday today.
Yeah.
We're both. Right. Like most people don't do that. Oh, Sunday, like, but I'm enjoying this, and then walking away. Like, so it's like when you love what you do, it's not a job. And I like, it's actually going to probably go back to what we were talking about, all the business and everything. Because when I lost everything, I was never into meditation, and then I found meditation, started listening to this 6-phase meditation, and it was kind of like guided meditation. I was like, oh, this is good. And then I started trying another one, but then they disappeared. And I was like, so I created a meditation podcast. So it's free always to help people like where I was. And what I learned from the meditation is grateful. Be grateful for, because when you lose everything, you're just thinking lack. When you start thinking a bit grateful the child has given me a hug, grateful I'm close to my family, grateful to friends I've got, I have a roof over my head. And the other one was the act of forgiveness. And because I had loads of court cases, I had a lot of people taking money out of my pocket, you're kind of angry. But what it is the anger is in you. And when you learn to forgive, then you kind of let it go. And most of them were okay, but there was some that were big ones, right? They were ones that cost me millions. And I was like, I was struggling. And how I fixed it is I brought them back to the child. So the person that I had anger for, I brought them back to the baby. And I said, they became who they are because of external circumstances. So when a baby is born, we've unconditional love for a child. And we're just like, cooing, you see a baby, there's no hatred. You just look at a baby and you've just pure love for a child. So when I saw that, I brought them back to the child, and I said, they became who they were by either external, like they could have had an abusive parent, alcoholic parent. They could have been parents working so hard that they said, go look after yourself, and they were out hanging around with the wrong people. So when I brought them back, that I had unconditional love for them and just accepted that it wasn't their fault, then I was able to forgive them. But what it really done is it took it away from me.
As I've gotten older, I start to look at people and adults as just older grown-up kids. And for me, when I see that, it allows me to be more forgiving and understanding of people. Because honestly, that's how I look at myself. I see myself as like a giant and older kid, and I start to see the kid in other people as you get older, and I agree, that does allow you to be so much more forgiving of people and understanding of people. And I'm really glad you mentioned meditation. I didn't think we would talk about this, but meditation is also important for me too. I would say I do it at least once a week, and it helps grounds me. It helps puts me in a state of gratitude, because I think what's very important is, like, I think meditation helps you focus on the positive things of life and the things that are going for you. And when you are coming from a place of like, thank you, God, for all that you have done for me, thank you for this, it puts you in a mindset to receive more. Whereas if you're constantly complaining about all the stuff that isn't going on or whatever, you're no longer in a state of reception because you're in such a negative state of mind. So I love that you brought up meditation, and I'm curious, like, you have a meditation podcast. Um, can you what has how, like you mentioned how meditation has helped you a lot with your with reducing stress. What kind of tips would you give to people who might be curious and meditating for themselves? And how can they start?
So you'll come across a lot of people and they say, "Oh, I've tried meditation, it doesn't work."
Yes.
And, how many times did you try it? Once or twice? That's like saying, I ate once or twice. We eat every day. And it's kind of like to say, you don't have to meditate every day. But like sometimes people think you have to sit in the lotus position with your thumbs a certain way and you have to close your eyes. I discuss lots of different ways with people, but what I've actually learned is with me, I could even have been on the beach, grounding, bare feet, and just looking out at the waves. And that was a form of meditation. Yeah. Listening to good, really nice music. And you just find something that works for you. The other one is breath work. So I get people coming in, they talk about chakras, they talk about yoga, they talk about all different types of breath work and even plant medicine and different things. And sometimes people, they do plant medicine once and they get kind of like, that works for them. They understand the world and everything. What I say is just be open. So like a lot of the conversation that I'm having with the guests is kind of discussing their journeys, but also like because I'm conscious, people say, I don't have time for meditation. I've got meditations on my podcast that's 1 minute, 5 minutes, and it's sum up to 2 hours. And I try to use the frequency as well, because even with music and stuff, sometimes they've modified the frequencies with music. So it's like, 434, I think is the correct one, and a lot of music is 440. So I try to have good frequencies as well, and you probably wouldn't even notice it, but I think it's healing the soul as well. And some people are saying with the chakras.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I love that you bring this up because the weird thing about meditation is there's no tangible results. You don't really know what the heck is actually going on, or at least it's kind of hard for people to be sold into it because you feel like you're just sitting still and doing nothing. And for me, I know it's when after I do it, I feel a lot more refreshed. And for me, it's also important because it helps me be less attached to the outcomes of things, so that I don't get so result oriented and so like egotistical about getting a certain result. It kind of just allows me to be present with whatever happens, and I think that's so important to have. So I'm glad that you meditate. I didn't think you would, but that explains how you're able to at least take the load of so many things and and not
like I think because people say I don't have time to meditate. It slows down time. That's when you should meditate. And you don't have to do it for an hour. You can do it just for 5 minutes. And even if we look at the breath work, because sometimes the breath, like I've often said that people say they smoke because it's relaxing. And I think it's because you're breathing properly. Even though you're putting toxic fumes into your body, you don't go out and go, they smoke because they're getting the breath, and that's why they feel relaxed. If you do the exact same thing, if you want to give up smoking, just get a little pipe or something like that with nothing in it and do the exact same thing. You'll get the same feeling.
Yeah.
It's like work on the breath work as well. And you can get breath works that are a few minutes and even longer. But if like some facilitators, sometimes it's like you can see visualizations from going heavy into breath work. So some people, all I say is it's like going to a doctor or going anywhere, a chiropractor. One is terrible, one is brilliant. Don't have your experience based on one person. Start shopping around, start talking to people, listen to, not necessarily my podcast. There's a lot of different versions, but it mightn't be for you. You might find a different podcast or a different system, shorter ones, a certain one. Just find something that works for you. Just like this kind of thing of, I don't think of it. I don't think that's possible. We all have thoughts, but what you do is your clutter mind or your thinking of everything just slows down and then it stops, and then you're kind of present. And if you have a thought, grand, I thought, okay, I should be doing this, whatever it is, I should have the car cleaned or whatever, and then you come back and just be present and don't beat yourself up. And when you're not beating yourself up and you're just enjoying it, don't make that you force yourself to do it. So start off, do a minute, just all right, and just going to step away for 5 minutes. Like most people when they're working, with the smoking, they're taking 10-minute breaks every hour.
Yeah.
But we don't do it. When you're not smoking, you're just working. And sometimes you're getting tired. If you go away and just breathe, if you feel tired, go in, have a 5-minute break, go outside and start breathing properly. You come back like full of energy. and you find what works for you.
No, the beauty of meditation is when the more you do it, the more you start to realize your life starts to feel like a meditative process. And it's very hard to explain, but in that stillness, it starts to transform throughout other parts of your life. This podcast, I don't know how to explain it, but whenever I'm podcasting, I feel very still. I just feel focused. I don't feel like I'm distracted. I feel like I'm very present in the moment. And I try to feel like that throughout everything I'm doing, whether I'm writing, whether I'm doing work, just to be as present in the moment as possible, because it allows me to just really enjoy whatever I'm doing and be engaged. So I think meditation really helps with focus. It really helps with clarity. It really helps with creativity, and I'm a huge proponent of it. And there's an app that there's all different ways to start. People can go on your podcast, whatever, but there's an app that I use called Medito. When I started meditating, it's called Medito. I'm not getting paid from them, but they're just a great app that is very simple, very easy. You just go on it. It says you want to meditate for 1, 2, 3 minutes, whatever. Pick 2 minutes, and it just guides you and whatever. So. I'm glad we're talking about meditation, Roy, and I just also I also wanted to just talk to you about TED Talks and also your ability to speak, because I know you used to be very shy. You probably weren't doing podcasts when you were younger. Now you have 6 podcasts. You're clearly engaging. And you've done TED Talks, which is something that is one of my bucket lists. So, I'm kind of curious. How did you get on a TED Talk? And also, where did you get the confidence to become a more prolific speaker?
Yeah, so it was an open mic TED, so that was like 5 minutes, so it wasn't a TED Talk. So, I could actually do it because I've got the right contacts, but I don't thought serve me, and the things I want to talk about, they won't really let you, to be honest with you, because I only want to do something that I think will serve. So what happened is, when I was younger, I go into the shop. I wouldn't go in. I'd give my friend the money. When I was 18, I wouldn't go up to the bar to get my round. I'd give my friend the money. That was the shyness that I had. When I was working in construction, so I was working for a mechanical contractor, and I was running big jobs from like a couple of million. And the one point I hated was when there was the weekly meeting, with the client, the architect and the builder, like my voice is going and everything. So when I lost everything, I went to an event afterwards, and I was like, what's your quest? And it was at that I said, all right, I'm going to expose all this. I'm going to expose everything, because I don't want people to go through the same thing that is, if they're aware of it. But also there was brilliant speakers there. And I just said, I need to become a good speaker if I want to get my message out, because nobody's going to listen to it if you can't. So I came back, and I tell you how shy I was. To go to a Toastmasters meeting, I had to bring my friend, and he brought his wife. And they were like, oh yeah, that's great, but we don't have time to join this. And I didn't go back because I was too shy. And the only reason I joined Toastmasters is they formed a new club a couple of months later. And I said, okay, everyone's going to be new. And what they did is they bounced, hey, do you want to sign up? Yeah, grand, I'm signing up. Do you want to do a speech next week? I thought that was normal. I did that. And I just kind of said yes to everything after that. I just entered competitions, went back to the other club, joined that, formed my own club. I done an entrepreneurial Toastmasters club in the morning, became a coach. I became a DTM, which was Distinguished Toastmaster, after 3 years. And I got into the final of 5 countries, done the open mic, TEDx, done open comedy, just to, overcome the fear. And I mean, I've done over 100 live podcasts as well. And, even with like David Icke, Mickey Willis, Peter McCullough, like famous people, and it doesn't bother me. So I went from, and even like I went to Mind Valley, I was speaking on the stage there, that I went from being terrified to it's not saying not caring, because I always care, but not being afraid, and not that my heart is going to pump out and I'm not thinking clearly. I'm totally focused. I know what I want to say, and I know my message. So
that's interesting. So as you were going to like open like comedy clubs and doing live podcasts and whatnot, you were doing it all with the intention of just becoming a better speaker, like, and to overcome your fear. That's interesting. So I'm just curious, as a result of becoming such an improved, enhanced speaker, what do you feel like are the benefits, or what has come out of it? Like, what do you think you were able to do now that you weren't able to do from being so shy?
I think it might go back to kind of mindfulness, meditation, as well as like I'm totally present. So I'm not even when I'm interviewing something, I'm not thinking, oh, what will I ask him next, or what? It just flows through me, because I prepare anyway enough that just like you do, that I'm not panicking. Whereas in school or whatever, if they were going through, or even if I was at some event before and they're going through the room, even just standing up, saying your name and what you do, my brain would just go, I call it a brain fart, like when I'm 5 people away and you could ask me what did the last 3 people say and I would know I went panic stage. So that doesn't happen no more. I'm totally present. And like even for anyone, because I know there's so many people have that fear. It's like if you're working for someone, it's the person that's able to speak, it's the promotion, even though you could be 10 times better than them. So it's like there's so many advantages to it. So in the corporate world, you can get the promotion when you deserve it, and not somebody that's just sneaky and just this competent speaker. But like even no matter what you do, like if you have a message that you're serving the world, and even with the podcast, and like I encourage people, if you've got some skill set, create a podcast and go out there and share your knowledge so that you're helping the world. Like there's no point in complaining, oh, the world is terrible, and I do what I can to make the world a better place, and I connect with people, and that's my mission in life. And then when you have a mission bigger than you, it's like I say earlier, it's not a job, and it's so when you do that, life becomes so much better.
That's awesome, man. Nah, man. Yeah, it's great to hear your story about becoming a better speaker, because I can relate to it, honestly. When I was younger, I was very skinny, and I wasn't as confident in myself too. And I actually went to speech therapy. So, the fact that I was able to go to speech therapy, in high school, I was one of the few black kids in a predominantly white school, and people said, "Oh, I can't understand you. You have an accent." And I had a lot of I wasn't as confident as I am today. And it's interesting how as we get older, you can evolve a lot more, because it's just great. I feel like as a result of being able to speak better, you're just a lot more confident with human interactions, and you're better at developing relationships, which I think is incredibly important.
And like because I have with the speaking podcast, it was kind of mainly kind of geared towards people to improve their speaking. But with me and with a lot of people, it happened from school, because they go around the class and they're asking you, and they're just berating you, belittling you and everything.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get you to read, like even the simple things of reading. You're learning how to read, which is difficult enough. And you have to stand up in front of 30 people and you start stuttering and stumbling, and then they're laughing at you. Now, most people are afraid to speak because they're experienced. So what you do is, if you have children, some people, unfortunately, with their kids, they just kind of put them into the school and, they'll look after them. Find out what they're doing, how they're doing it, and nip it in the bud if you see them doing that. Because there's still some teachers that are doing things like that. And you have to make sure you don't tolerate that kind of thing. And like what I do with my kids is, I never wanted them to be like me. So if we go into the shop and they say, I want this, here, go up and get it. No. So we're not getting it. And of course they go up and get it. So like my youngest child, he's so confident, he's on school plays and stuff like that. He doesn't have that fear. But because I didn't hold his hand and keep him away and step in and protect him, because a lot of parents are trying to do that. So with your children, make sure that you don't allow them to have a fear either. It's simple compound effect of the things you do. You can make them competent or incompetent, and make sure that you're helping them.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, you're creating an environment for people to be themselves. And I feel like if people aren't confident in speaking up for themselves, I think it's because they haven't been exposed to enough environments where they were able to feel comfortable in being themselves. And I think that's really the ultimate thing that's probably stopping people from being good speakers, is they don't feel like they can truly be themselves. You know what I'm saying? In this platform I've created, I feel like I can be myself. And I'm sure with the podcast you have created, you can be yourself. But when you're in an environment where you're like, people are berating you or doing this or that, it's really hard to speak up, right?
And even with this, the podcast, I don't know, it took me a while for me to kind of have my personality. Because like being Irish, we like to laugh and joke as well. And I think I didn't let that out for a while. It took me a while to actually. And then I went on to, I think, is it Clubhouse, which is strange. I was competent at this stage. I went on to Clubhouse, but Clubhouse was like a radio. I could just hear and my voice went again, and I was like, "What's going on? Why am I nervous?"
Uh,
But I didn't stop. I'm going to fix it. So within 3 or 4 times, I went on. But
yeah.
because it was a different medium, same thing that you could be on TV or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's a different medium, so you can get comfortable and watch.
sure.
The thing is, I think once you know you can overcome something, you don't walk away and say, "Oh, I can't do Clubhouse, I can't do radio, it's just not my thing." You just start saying, "How can I make this work?" And you just face it head on.
Yeah.
And not have a crutch as such.
Yeah, no, man. I'm thank you for sharing your stories of just becoming a better speaker. Honestly, it's one of the reasons why I do this podcast. Because I like the man that I'm becoming as a result of being consistent with the podcast. I find myself a lot more confident. And just also improving my ability to speak, which I find very important and near and dear to me, because I would like to transfuse this ability to other platforms, whether it's in real life or public speaking or wherever it may come through. But I know that doing these podcasts will prepare me for greater opportunities. So before I head off with you, Roy, it's been a great it's been a pleasure speaking with you, honestly. Like, you're very pleasurable, and I've learned a lot. I'm curious, with all the things that you've got going on, Roy, what keeps you pushing? Like, what do you feel like is your ultimate purpose in life?
To create a world better than is now for my children, instead of accepting it is this because it's just, we just have to kind of navigate and this is the way the world is.
Yeah.
Figuring out systems and how to take down those evil cabals that are doing it. And the thing is, you will not see this on CNN, BBC, or all these channels. But when you start finding the right circles, there are some amazing things happening in the world. And when you start looking for the light, you'll see the light, and it gives you hope. And then to just kind of be doing it. Because as you said, the conversations, I mean, you've had a lot of different, I mean, as I mentioned, I listened to you, like even people like investing in real estate or whatever, like it's kind of guiding them to, okay, everything isn't always consistent. You know, interest rates go up and everything. And it's just, it makes you prepared. And it's just like looking at life of how I can navigate it, because no matter what, people think you're going to get a utopia and everything is going to be perfect. I love this house, I love this car, everything's going to be right, I love the right partner on my arm, but you're going to get hit into the head with a baseball, because that's the way life is. You get curveballs, and it's how you react to it. So it's just like, you just understand life changes no matter what, and you just you don't react in the wrong way. You get back in the straight road as fast as possible. You don't keep going off onto the garden, into the road. You know, you just adjust. Okay, this is what's happened, whether it's a debt, whether business partner shafted you, whatever it is, or a court case. You just go, okay, this is what it is, and you don't let it sideball you. You get back on track. You get surround yourself with the loved ones that you've got, and you start enjoying life daily instead of living for hope for the future, for a certain type of life. Just every day should be that's my motto. Like, treat every day like it's your last, but hope that you live for 200.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. That's a beautiful message, and I'm so glad that you're sharing this message of gratitude and just being present with all things that you do. Roy, for people who would like to reach out to you and learn more about you, or perhaps even work with you, how can people do that?
So it's my name, roycoughlan.com. They'll find the 6 podcasts, the meditation, the other one, the VA World, virtual assistant, and everything else I'm doing. So that's the one that I update, that you'll find everything about me.
Yeah, Roy. Well, it was a pleasure speaking with you, Roy. I'm so grateful for the time we've had. This conversation was therapeutic for me, and it was also pretty revealing to see that people aren't just dealing with corruption in America. People are dealing with corruption just around the world, and there seems to be a theme wherever you go. So, thank you for sharing that with me. Thank you for sharing your stories, and I wish you best of luck with all your endeavors.
No, thank you very much. Really appreciate it, and I wish you super success. And what I would say as well, for those listening, make sure you give him a thumbs up, 5-star rating, and share it with your friends, because it'll help this podcast out.
Thank you, man.